Good day. This is the National Mathematics Quiz Competition powered by World Best TV for the secondary section. Please note that this is a guide to the comprehensive list of topics you would encounter in the course of the competition and not entirely the questions you will be seeing. These topics are approximation. Under approximation, we'll be looking at number place, that is place value of numbers, estimation, significant figures, rounding off, mensuration. Under mensuration, we'll be looking at lengths, perimeters, areas, volume, as mensuration has to do with what? Measurement. Then we'll move on to algebra. Under algebra, we'll be looking at inequality, simplification, factorization, substitution, change of subject formula, linear equations, and simultaneous linear equations. Slide. We have approximation. Under approximation, the first examples we'll be dealing on is approximation and place value. And the first example here is what? It says approximate 5.7255 to the nearest thousandth. Now what is thousandth? Thousandth is the third place value after the decimal point. The first one is what? Is tenths. The second one is hundredths. And the third one, which is the first 5 there, is what? Thousandths. So when we are approximating, we have to approximate it such that it will end with the thousandth place value. So when we approximate it, we take the last digit there, which is the last 5, and round it up to the what? To the first 5, which is the thousandth place value. So we will get what? 5.726. 5.726, and that's our answer. The next example is the reciprocal of 0.65 to 3 significant figure is dash. The reciprocal of 0.65 to 3 significant figure is dash. Now, what is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is the inverse of that number. It is that number raised to power minus 1. It is 1 over that number, 1 divided by that number. So, when we take the reciprocal of 0.65, which is 1 over 0.65, it will give us 1.5385. 1.5385. But it says what? To 3 significant figures. What is a significant figure? A significant figure is a non-zero figure before a decimal point, or what? Any figure after a decimal point, which is not a zero figure that is at the end of that number. Which is not a zero figure that is at the end of that number. So, to 3 significant figures, the answer will be what? 1.54. 1.54, because 1 is a non-zero digit number before a decimal point, then 5 and 4, then 5 and 4. So, we move on to the next example, which says what? Round off 3.9695 to 2 decimal places. 3.9695 to 2 decimal places. Now, a decimal place is what? Is a place value after the decimal points. The place value after the decimal point. And to 2 decimal places is what? 9 and 6. So we take this second 9 and we round it up onto the 6 to get a 7. That's how we get this what? This 3.97. We move on to mensuration. Now, what is mensuration? Mensuration has to do with what? Measurements. Measurements of lengths, volumes, widths, breadths, and so on. So, the first example we are going to deal with here is an example on lengths. On lengths. And it says what? If length is equal to 4 times the width, and the area is equal to what? 100 meters square. What is the length of a rectangle if the width is 5 over 4 meters? First of all, we'll start by what? By writing out our parameters. always write out your parameters so that you don't get confused. Now, the length they have told us to be what? 4 times the width. 4 times the width. And the width is equal to what? 5 over 4 meters. The width is equal to 5 over 4 meters. And the area is equal to what? The area is equal to 100 meters square. 100 meters square. But mind you, the formula for finding the area of a rectangle is equal to the length times the width, or length times breadth. And here we are dealing with width, so it's length times width. Therefore, the 100 meters square is equal to the length, which is L here, times 4 times 5 over 4. When we multiply out, we'll have what? L, the L which is the length, times 5 meters. L times 5 meters is equal to what? Is equal to 100 meters square. So when we make L the subject of formula, we'll have 100 meters square over 5 meters. So the length is equal to 20 meters. The next question is on perimeters. And it says the perimeter of a triangle is 140 millimeters. If the sides are in the proportion of 4:7:9, what is the longest side? What is the length of the longest side? Now, once again, we'll write out our parameters. We'll write out our parameters. So we have the perimeter, which is equal to 144 millimeters. And the ratio of the sides is what? 4:7:9. But the total of these ratios is equal to what? 4 plus 7 plus 9, which is 20. But remember, a perimeter is what? Is a sum of all the sides. Is a sum of all the sides. That means this perimeter, which is 140 millimeters, has been taken and divided into 20 parts. Into 20 parts. And one of these parts is one. Each of this ratio is what? Is a length. That means one part of the length of the triangle has 4 sides of the perimeter, and the other one has 7, and the last one, which is the longest one, has 9. Now, to find the actual length of the side that has the ratio of 9, we will take this 9 and divide it by 20, then multiply it by the perimeter, which is 140 millimeters. That is what we did here. The longest side of the length of the longest side is equal to 9 over 20 times 140 millimeters, which is equal to 63 millimeters. Which is equal to what? 63 millimeters. Move on to the next slide. This example here says the area of a square is 169 centimeters square. What is the perimeter of the field? It says the area of a square field is 169 centimeters square. What is the perimeter of the field? So we write down our parameters before solving it. It says the area is 169 centimeters square, but mind you, the formula for finding the area of a square is what? Is length times length, which is L, which is length square, and the perimeter is what? 4L, 4 times the length. So if you want to get the length of this square, you have to take the square root of the area. You take the square root of the area. So when you take the square root of 169 centimeters square, to give you what? 13 centimeters. 13 centimeters. Therefore, if you substitute 13 centimeters into the formula for finding the perimeter of a square, which is 4 times L, it will give you what? 4 times 13 centimeters, which is equal to 52 centimeters. That is the perimeter of that square field. Okay, we move on to the next example, which is on areas. The first one on area says the area of a parallelogram whose base is 9 centimeters and height is 4 centimeters is dash square centimeters. The area of a parallelogram whose base is 9 centimeters and height is 4 centimeters is dash square centimeters. Okay, once again, you write out your parameters. The formula for finding the area of a parallelogram is base times height. Is what? Base times height. The base is 9 centimeters and the height is 4 centimeters. When you multiply the both of them, 4 times 9 is to give you 36 centimeters square. That is the area of that parallelogram. The next example on area says an equilateral triangle of side 16 centimeters has the same perimeter with a square. What is the area of that square? It says the equilateral triangle of side 16 centimeters has the same perimeter with a square. What is the area of that square? Now, as we all know, an equilateral triangle is a triangle with 3 equal sides, and one of that side is 16 centimeters. Is 16 centimeters. If you want to get the perimeter of that triangle, you have to add all the sides. So you multiply 16 by 3, which is the 3 equal sides, and it will give you 48. 48, that is the perimeter of that triangle. But remember that they say the perimeter of the triangle is equal to the perimeter of the square. So the square also have a perimeter of what? 48 centimeters. 48 centimeters. And we are looking for the area of that square. So we have to find the length of the square. Now, the length of that square will be given by what? 48 centimeters divided by 4. 48 centimeters divided by 4, because the square has 4 sides, which you have added to give you 48. So when you divide 48 by 4, it is 12 centimeters. That is the length of the square. So if you want to get the area of that square, you multiply the 12 by another 12, which is what? The area of a square, which is L times L. L times L is the formula for finding the area of a square. So we multiply 12 by 12. It gives you 144 centimeters square. Right. The next example is on volume. It's on volume, and it says a tank is 6 by 4 by 3 meters. Calculate 1/3 of its volume. Calculate 1/3 of its volume. Now, the formula for finding the volume of any shape is what? Is the height times length times the width or breadth. The height times length times breadth or width. So here they have given us 6, 4, and 3 meters. So if we multiply all of them together, we get what? 72 meters cube. 72 meters cube. But they did not ask us to calculate the volume. They said 1/3 of its volume. So we have to multiply 72 by 1/3. So we multiply 72 by 1/3. We get what? 24 meters cube. That is the answer for this question. We'll move on to the next slide, which is what? Algebra. Now, under algebra, the first thing we are going to deal with is inequalities. So the first question says what? Solve the inequality. 5 is greater than equal to 6x minus 1. 5 is greater than equal to 6x minus 1. We'll move on to the solution. The first thing we are going to do is to collect like terms, because we are trying to isolate x. We are trying to isolate x so that we can get the value of x in this inequality. So we are going to move this minus 1 over to the other side so that it will be with its like term, which is what? 5. We are going to move it to the other side of this sign here. Yes. So when we move it, the sign is going to change. The sign is going to change. So we'll have what? 5 plus 1 is less than equal to 6x. 5 plus 1 is less than equal to 6x. When we add it up, we have 6 is less than equal to 6x. The next thing we are going to do is to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 6. When we divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 6, it's going to give us what? X is greater than equal to 1. X is what? Greater than equal to 1. This is the value of x in this inequality. Okay? The next one we are going to look at is what? Simplification. Simplification. So, the first example here says what? Simplify 6x minus 3y minus bracket open 3x minus 7 bracket close. So, I believe we are all familiar with this kind of questions. The first thing we are going to do is to what? Is to open the brackets. How do we do that? We take what is outside the brackets and multiply it by what is inside the brackets. In this case, it is the what? The minus sign. So when we multiply it, when we multiply this bracket by the minus sign, it gives us what? 6x minus 3y minus 3x plus 7y. Then we collect like terms to get what? 6x minus 3x minus 3y plus 7y. When after adding and subtracting, we get what? 3x plus 4y. 3x plus 4y. We have simplified this equation, this expression. What does it mean to simplify? To simplify means to what? To bring it to its lowest term. 3x plus 4y. There's nothing we can do again. That means it's in its lowest term. So we have done what? We have simplified it. Good. Now, we will do what? Move on to factorization. Factorization. The example here says what? Factorize x squared minus 1. X squared minus 1. Now, to factorize this expression, we must find the factors of x squared and 1, not minus 1. Not minus 1. Why? Because minus 1 does not have a factor. Minus 1 does not have a factor. But 1, on the other hand, has a factor because 1 itself is a factor of itself. Get me? 1 is a factor of what? Of itself. And the factor of x squared is what? Is x. So you understand this more if we write this expression as x squared minus 1 raised to power 2. X raised to power 2 minus what? Minus 1 raised to power 2. Because 1 times 1 is equal to 1. So 1, you can write 1 as what? As 1 raised to power 2. Good. So these kind of expressions are known as what? As the difference of two squares. The difference of two squares. So when we factorize this, when we write this thing out as their factors, we have what? X raised to power 2 minus 1 raised to power 2 implies that what? X times x minus 1 times 1. X times x minus what? 1 times 1. So if we write out the factors that are outside the brackets, we group them in a different brackets. We have what? X minus 1 bracket in one bracket and x plus 1 in the other brackets. X minus 1 in one bracket and x minus 1 in the other bracket. If you expand this, you are still going to get our what? Our initial words, our initial question. I believe you all know that is how factorizations work. When you multiply the quotients by the factors, you get what? You get your question back. Good. The next question we're going to look at is what? It says find the value of what? Of 4x plus 9 when x is equal to 4. Find the value of 4x plus 9 when x is equal to 4. So to do this, we are going to substitute what? The value of x into the expression. The value of x into the expression. And when we substitute this, we are going to multiply out and add to get what? 25. We are going to multiply out and add to get what? 25. This is under what? Substitution. Substitution. Yes, we move on to change of subject formula. The example here says what? If the area of a trapezium is given by the formula A is equal to 1 over 2a plus b in brackets times height times h, a plus b of times what? Times h. What is a as expressed as? What is a expressed as? Now, this question is asking us to what? To make a the subject of formula. Is to make the small letter a a subject of what? Of formula. How do we do this? We have to isolate it. We have to isolate it. To do this first, we have to what? We have to multiply both sides by 2. We first of all take away the divisor, the 2 that is dividing it. So we multiply both sides by 2. When we multiply both sides by 2, we are going to have what? 2a is equal to what? A plus b all multiplied by what? By h. And the 2 is no longer dividing it because we have multiplied it by what? By 2. The next thing we are going to do is to divide both sides by h. Divide both sides by h because we want to get rid of this h here. So when we divide both sides by h, this one will cancel out and it will move to this other side. So we will have what? 2a over h is equal to what? A plus b. 2a over h is equal to a plus b. We're almost there. The next thing we have to do is to what? To subtract b from both sides. To subtract b from both sides. When we do that, we are going to have what? A is equal to 2a over h minus what? Minus b. You have succeeded in what? In changing the subject of formula from the area, which is capital letter A, to the what? To the small a. Good. We'll move on to the next slide. Right. Which is linear equations. The example here says what? What is the value of x in 3x plus 5 equal to what? 2x into bracket y minus 3 if y is equal to what? 2. What is the value of x in 3x plus 5 equal to 2x into bracket y minus 3 if y is equal to 2? Now in this equation we have already gotten the value of y. They have already given us the value of what? Of y. So we have to find the value of x. This is an example of a what? Of a linear equation. So the first thing we are going to do is to what? Is to open the brackets on the right hand side of the equation. This bracket here, we are going to open it by what? By multiplying what is outside, which is the 2x, by what is inside, y minus 3. When we do this, we are going to get what? 3x plus 5 is equal to 2xy minus 6x. 3x plus 5 is equal to 2xy minus 6x. The next thing we are going to do is to what? Is to collect like terms. That means we have to bring this 5 over to this other side and this other 2x plus y minus 6 over to this other side. Good. So when we do this, we'll have what? 3x plus 6x minus 2xy is equal to what? Minus 5 minus 5. The next thing we are going to do is what? Is to substitute the value of y into our expression, into our equation. When we substitute the value of y into our equation, we have what? 9x minus 4x is equal to what? Minus 5. 9x minus 4x is equal to minus 5. When we subtract, we are going to have what? Minus 5x. We are going to have 5x is equal to what? Minus 5. 5x is equal to what? Minus 5. Then what would have to divide both sides by 5 to get what? The value of x. So when we divide both sides by 5, we get what? X is equal to minus 1 when y is equal to 2. That means when the value of y is 2, for this equation, x is equal to what? Minus 1. We move to what? Simultaneous linear equation. Simultaneous linear equations. Now, the example here says what? Solve for x in the following simultaneous equation. Solve for x in the following simultaneous equation. If we have what? X is equal to what? Y plus 1 and x plus 2y is equal to 7. X is equal to y plus 1 and x plus 2y is equal to 7. Let us label our equations, equation 1 and equation 2. So here we already have the value of x to be what? Y plus 1. So if we take this value of x as y plus 1 and substitute it into our equation 2, we'll have what? Y plus 1 plus 2y is equal to what? 7. Y plus 1 plus this 2y is equal to what? 7. Good. So when we add, we are going to get 3y is equal to 6. 3y is equal to 6. If we divide both sides by 3, we get what? Y is equal to 2. We will take this 2 and substitute it into equation 1. We will back substitute it into equation 1 and we get what? X is equal to 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3. That means x is equal to what? 3. The value of x in this simultaneous linear equation is equal to what? 3. Good. We move to BODMAS operations. BODMAS operations. Now the example here says what? Simplify 3 plus 6 times bracket open 5 plus 4 divided by 3 minus 7. Now let us remember what BODMAS stands for. BODMAS stands for what? Bracket of division, multiplication, addition, and what? Subtraction. Bracket of division, multiplication, and subtraction. That means when you see questions like this, you first of all look out for what? For these things. Is there a bracket here? The first thing you should do is what? Clear the brackets. The next thing is what? Off. Have they asked you to find a particular value of something? You find that thing. Then the next one you look at is what? Division. After division is what? Multiplication. Then addition and what? And subtraction. So here, yes, there is a bracket. So we have to clear out this what? This bracket. The bracket is what? 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4. When we do 5 plus 4, we get what? 9. We get 9. So we'll move on to this place, which says what? 3 plus 6 times what? Times 9 divided by what? By 3. They have not asked us to calculate the fraction of anything, so we'll ignore this off here and we'll move on to the next one, which is what? Divide. Divide. So we have to divide. Where is the division sign here? Here. So we'll divide 9 by what? By 3. 9 by 3. When we divide, we'll get what? 3 plus 6x times 3 minus 7. 3 plus 6 times 3 what? Minus 7. 3 plus 6 times 3 minus 7. Good. Then we are going to do this. We are going to go back to our BODMAS and look at it. What's the next one there is what? Is multiplication. The next one here is multiplication. So we have to multiply 6 by 3. So when we do this, we'll have what? 3 plus 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 plus 18 minus 7. 3 plus 18 minus 7. Then we'll add. We will add before we subtract. When we add 3 to 18 and then subtract 7 from it, we get what? 14. We get 14. That is our answer. So when you see a question like this, you write out your what? Your BODMAS and you follow the steps. Is there a bracket? You clear the bracket first. Have they asked you to what? To calculate a fraction of something. Of something. Of stands for what? Stands for multiplication. Then you move on to what? To division, multiplication, addition, and what? And subtraction. Very good. Variation. Variation. It says what? If x varies directly as y and x is equal to 7 when y is 35, then the relationship between x and y is what? The relationship between x and y is what? Good. So we will what? We'll write it out. Say x varies directly as y. X varies directly as y. That means x is equal to what? Y times what? Times a constant. Remember, in variation, there's always a what? Always a constant of variation. There's always a constant of variation. And the symbol for our constant of variation here is what? Is k. Good. Now, it says x is equal to 7 when y is 35. We will substitute these values into our equation here. So we'll have what? 7, which is x, is equal to what? 35k. 35 is our y. Yes. So we'll find the value of what? Of k. What? We'll divide both sides by 35. So we have k is equal to what? 7 over 35. This is an what? An improper fraction. So we have to what? We have to reduce the fraction to its lowest terms. It will give us what? 1 over 5. 1 over 5. That means our constant is what? Is 1 over 5. That is our constant. Therefore, the relationship between x and y is that what? X is equal to what? Y over 5. Y over what? Over 5. You will substitute the value of the constant into the what? The equation here. So we have what? X is equal to y over 5. Good. We move on to probability. Probability. The example here says what? There are 6 blue balls and 3 red balls in a box. If one of them is picked at random, what is the probability that the ball is red? Good. Now, it says what? In a box, there are 6 blue balls and 3 red balls. If you put your hand into the box and pick one ball at random, what is the probability that the ball is red? Now, what is the formula for finding probability? Probability is what? The expected outcome all over the total number of outcomes. What is the expected outcome here? The what? The red ball. The red ball. Good. So we write out our parameters. The number of blue balls is equal to what? 6. And the number of red balls is equal to what? 3. That means the total number of balls is what? 6 what? 6 plus 3. 6 plus 3, which will give us what? 9. So the expected outcome, which is what? The red balls is what? They are 3. And the total number of outcomes is what? Is 9. Is 9. Good. So the probability is equal to what? 3 over 9. 3 over 9. If we simplify this further, it will give us what? 1 over 3. 1 over 3, which also implies that which can also be written as what? As 0.33. This is the probability of picking a red ball from a box containing 6 blue balls and 3 red balls. Good. So we'll move on to the next slide. Word problems. The first example here says what? It says a clock strikes once at 1 o'clock, twice at 2 o'clock, and thrice at 3 o'clock, and so on. How many times will it strike in 24 hours? How many times will it strike in 24 hours? Now, if the clock strikes once at 1 o'clock, twice at 2 o'clock, 3 times at 3 o'clock, 4 times at 4 o'clock, that means it strikes 5 times at 5 o'clock, 6 times 6 o'clock, 7 times 7 o'clock, 8 times 8 o'clock, 9 times 9 o'clock, and on till what? Till 12 o'clock. And on till 12 o'clock. That means the number of strikes in a day in 24 hours will be what? Will be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12. Plus 11 plus what? Plus 12. All times what? Times 2. All times 2. Now, notice that I did not go on to say what? Plus 13 plus what? Plus 2 plus 3, because once the hand of the clock reach what? 12, it starts again from 1. If you look at your clock, once the hands of the clock reach what? 12, it starts again from 1. And when it has run to 12 2 times, it gives us 24 hours. It gives us what? 24 hours. So you will not go on to what? 13 plus 14 and so on. No. You will end at what? You will end at 12 and then multiply it by 2. because the 24 hours is made up of what? Of 12 hours of the day and 12 hours of the night. Good. So when we add this, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11 plus 12 is equal to what? 72. Sorry, 78 is equal to 78. When we multiply 78 by 2 is equal to what? 156. That means the what? The clock strikes 156 times in 24 hours. 156 times in 24 hours. Good. The next question we are going to look at is what? Is this. It says 45 is added to a certain number and the result is divided by 2. The final answer is 5 times the number. What is the number? 45 is added to a certain number and the result is divided by 2. The final answer is 5 times the number. What is the number? Now, let the number be what? Be x. Let the number be x because it's what? Is unknown. It's unknown. So we are going to represent it with x. So it says 45 was added to a number. That means we'll write what? 45 plus x. 45 plus x as we have done here. Then it was divided by 2. It says the result was divided by 2. That means 45 plus x all over 2 is equal to what? 5 times the number, 5 times x, which is 5x, as we have done here. Look at it here. Good. It says 45 plus x all over 2 is equal to what? 5x. And we are looking for the value of x. So the first thing we are going to do is to try to what? To collect like terms and make x subject of formula so that we can find the value of x. But we have to get these 2 out of the way. What will we do? We cross multiply. We cross multiply. When we cross multiply, this 2 will multiply the 5 to give us what? 45 plus x is equal to 10x. 45 plus x is equal to 10x. The next thing we are going to do is what? Is to collect like terms. So we'll take this x over to this other side of the equation. We'll take it to the right side of the equation, and crossing equality sign, it will what? It will lose the what? The plus, and it will change to minus. So we have 45 is equal to what? 10x minus x. 45 is equal to 10x minus x. Therefore, 45 is equal to what? 9x. Then we divide both sides by 9 to get what? To get the value of x. And we can see that x is equal to what? Is equal to 5. That is the number. The number is what? Is 5. That certain number here is what? Is 5. Good. We move on to the next example. This example says John has 2 beepers, red and green. The green beeper beeps every 35 seconds and the red beeper beeps every 45 seconds. In how many seconds do both beepers beep at the same time? The first beeper, which is the green one, beeps every 35 seconds, and the next one, which is the red one, beeps every 45 seconds. In how many seconds do both beepers beep at the same time? Now, we have to find how many times they both beep at the same time. That is what the question is all about. So, I have drawn a table here. In solving it, I drew a table, and what it says was the number of times that it beeps. The first time it beeps in what? The first beeper beeps in 35 seconds, and the second one beeps in what? In 45 seconds. The second time it will beep, it will be in what? 70 seconds and 90 seconds. You just keep on what? Adding and adding and adding until you get the same number of seconds. Until you get the same what? Number of seconds. Good. So the first beeper at the 9th time, it will beep in what? 315 seconds. And the second beeper at the 7th time will beep in what? In 315 seconds too. That means they both beep at the same time every 315 seconds. That means when the beeper is beeping for the 7th time, the first beeper, when the second beeper is beeping for the 7th time at 315 seconds, the first beeper will be beeping for the 9th time at 315 seconds. Therefore, they will both beep at the same time every 315 seconds. Good. We move to the next example. This example is still on word problems, and it says what? I was 19 years old when my niece was born. how many months old will she be when I am 57 years old? This one is quite straightforward. So my age at that time was what? Was 19 years, and my current age is what? 57 years. That means my niece would be 57 minus 19 because she was born when I was 19 years and I am now 57 years. Good. Okay. So when we subtract, it's going to get us what? 38. That means she's actually 38 years. But the question did not say how old is she in years. It said how many months old is she. Okay. So we are going to multiply that 38 by 12 because 1 year is made up of 12 months. So 38 times 12 is equal to what? 456. So she's actually 456 months old. She's 456 months old. Good. We move on to the next example. The next example says there are 8,235 words in a 5-page book. If each page has 35 lines, how many words are there on a line? If each page has what? 35 lines, how many words are there on a line? Now, in this book, which has 8,235 words, is equivalent to what? To 5 pages. The 8,235 words of this book is equivalent to the 5 pages, and 35 lines are equal to what? To 1 page. Therefore, 1 page has how many words? It has 8,235 divided by 5, which is what? 1,647 words per page. It has 1,647 words per page. But they are asking us how many words are there on a line. And mind you, in 1 page, which has 1,647 words, there are 35 lines. In 1 page, which has 1,647 words, there are 35 lines. Therefore, the number of words per line is equal to what? 1,647 divided by 35. 1,647 divided by 35. Okay, so it's going to give us what? 47 words per line. That means there are 47 words per line. Good. We move on to trigonometry. We move on to what? Trigonometry. Now, mind you, I have taken the liberty to what? To set this question such that there are no sine or cosine functions in what? In these trigonometric questions. In the trigonometric questions, you are not going to be having these functions because you are not using a calculator. Okay, so we'll basically be dealing with what? With angles and what? And the sides of what? Of triangles and other means on other shapes under trigonometry. Okay, good. So the example of the question here says what? The value of x in a right angled triangle if two of the angles are 20 degrees and x degree is dash. Now, there are 3 angles in a triangle, but they have given you how many here? 2, 20 degrees and x degree. But let us take what notes from the question. It says what? A right angled triangle. That means it has what? 90 degrees. Remember, a right angled triangle always have what? 90 degrees. So there are actually three angles here. The right angle, which is 90 degree, 20 degrees, and x. So we have to find the value of what? Of x. Good. So we are going to say what? 90 plus 20 plus x is equal to 180. Why? Because the sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Good. So we are going to add and what? And make x the subject of formula. If we add 90 what plus what? 20 to give us what? 110. Then we'll take the 110 over to this other side. Yeah? We are going to what? Collect like terms. And we have what? X degrees is equal to what? 180 degrees minus 110 degrees, which is equal to what? 70. So x is equal to what? 70 degrees. Good. Now we'll move on to simple interest. Simple interest. The example here says what? What is the simple interest for 6,000 for 3 years at what? At 12% per annum. 12% per annum. We'll write out our parameters. The principal is equal to what? 6,000. The time is equal to 3 years. And the rate is equal to what? 12%. 12%. Now remember, the formula for finding simple interest is equal to what? principal times time times rate, okay, all over 100. Principal times rate times time, all over 100. Now when we do this, we have what? We'll substitute the value of what? Of these parameters into the equation. It says 6,000 times 3 times what? 12, all over 100. 6,000 times 3 times 12 over 100. When we multiply and divide, we get what? 2,160. 2,160. This is what? Is a simple interest for 3 years at 12% per annum per year. Okay, good. We'll move on to the next topic, which is what? Percentage profit and what? And loss. Percentage profit and loss. Good. Now, the example of the question here on that percentage profit and loss says what? A store sold an article for 875 naira. A store sold an article for 875 naira and made a profit of 35.5%. What was the cost price? What was the cost price? Good. Now, you must know that what? Profit is equal to what? Selling price minus cost price. And the selling price here is 875 naira. Okay? Selling price is equal to 875 naira. But cost price is equal to what? Selling price minus profit. Selling price minus profit. And here they have asked us to get the what? The cost price. So it is selling price minus the profit. Okay? So the selling price, we'll write out our parameters. Selling price is equal to 875 naira. The profit is equal to 35.5%. Okay? 35.5% of the cost price. Good. So the profit in actual what? In actual money figure is equal to what? 35.5 all over 1000, not 100. Because of this decimal point, you add a what? A separate another 0 to the 100. So it has what? 355 all over 1000. 355 over 1000 times the what? Times the cost price will give us the what? The profit. 355 over 1000 times the cost price will give us the profits. But the cost price is equal to what? 875 minus what? Minus the profits. Okay, so we are going to what? We are going to shorten it so that we don't get confused. We are going to use CP anywhere we see what? Cost price. Anywhere you see CP, know that we are talking of what? Of cost price. Good. So if we what? We try to collect like terms. Okay, if we try to collect like terms so that we can make the CP, the cost price, the subject of the formula here, we'll have what? We'll have this. The cost price is equal to what? 875 naira all over 1.355. All over 1.355, which is equal to what? 645.76 naira. This was the cost price. 645.76 naira. That was the cost price. That was the amount at which the store bought the article and made the what? The profit. Good. We move on to the next slide. It's on what? Standard form and fractions. Standard form and fractions. Now, the example here says what? Express 0.0001 in standard form. Express 0.0001 in standard form. So what do? We have to move this what? These decimal points on to what? Behind 1. To what? To behind 1. So how are we going to do this? We are going to write it as such. 1.0 times 10 raised to the power what? Minus 4. 1.0 times 10 raised to the power minus 4. Why? Because this is what? That's the number of what? Of decimal places we have moved the points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 to behind 1. So it was minus 4. Good. So the next example says convert 1 over 3 to what? To a decimal fraction and give your answer to 4 decimal places. 1 over 3 to a decimal fraction and give your answer to 4 decimal places. Now, how do we convert fractions to decimal fractions? We have to divide it by long division method. We have to divide it by long division method. So when we divide this by long division method, we will have what? We will have 3 outside the long division sign and 1 inside. So when we divide this, 3 will go into 1 how many times? 3 cannot go into 1. So we'll write what? we'll write 0 here. Then what? Multiply. 3 times 0 is 0. 1 minus 0 is what? Is 1. So the next thing we are going to do is to what? Is to add a point here. I believe you all know how to do long division, but we are still going to go through it anyways. So we'll add a point here and add 0 to this 1. Then we'll go again. 3 will go into 10 how many times? 3 times. 3 times 3 will give us what? 9. We'll subtract again. 10 minus 9 is what? Is 1. So we'll add another 0 because 3 can still not go into 1. Okay? So when we divide again, 3 will go into 10 is what? Is still 3. We can now see that if we continue, we'll keep on getting 0.33333333 and on to infinity. Okay? So we just cut it, we'll just stop here and what? And write it to what? To 4 decimal places. To 4 decimal places. And 1 over 3 to 4 decimal places is what? Is 0.3333. That is our answer. That is our answer. Good. Let's move on to distances. The example under here says what? It says telephone poles are placed at an interval of 60 meters. What is the distance between the first and the 18th poles? Telephone poles are placed at an interval of 60 meters. What is the distance between the first and the 18th poles? The solution goes like this. So write down our what? There are 18 poles. 18 poles, and the interval between each pole is what? 60 meters. So the distance between the first pole and the 18th pole is equal to 18 minus 1. 18 minus 1, which is 17. Which is 17. Those are the paces between the first and the 18th pole. There are 17 paces between what? The first and the 18th pole. So when you multiply these 17 paces by the interval of the paces, that is what? 60 meters. You will get what? You will get the distance, the actual distance between the first and the 18th pole, which is what? 1020 meters. 1020 meters. You can also convert this 1020 meters to what? To kilometers. It will give you 1.02 kilometers. Okay. Let's move on to conversion of units. Conversion of units. The first conversion of unit example here is on time. And the question says there are 365 days in 1 year and 100 years in 1 century. How many days are there in 1 century? There are 365 days in 1 year and 100 years in 1 century. How many days are there in 1 century? Now this is a quite simple and straightforward question. So it's basically multiplication. Basically multiplication. There are 365 days in 1 year and 100 years in 1 century. Therefore, in 1 century, there will be 365 times 100 because each of the 100 year has 365 days. So 365 times 100 will give you the number of days in 1 century, which is what? Which is 36,500 days. 36,500 days. Okay, the next example here, it says a lorry used 200 liters of diesel for a journey of 1,000 kilometers. A lorry used 200 liters of diesel for a journey of 1,000 kilometers. How many liters of diesel will be used to cover a distance of 1,750 kilometers? Now, if the lorry used what? 200 liters for 1,000 kilometers. How many liters will it be able to use for 1,750 kilometers? How many liters will it be able to use for what? 1,750 kilometers. It's quite easy. All you have to do is what? Is to multiply the 1,750 by the 200 liters and divide both sides by the what? 1,000. You divide it by 1,000. So when you do this, you are going to get the actual number of liters that will be used to travel the distance of 1,750 kilometers, which is 350 liters. It will give you 319.6. Let's move on to the next slide, which is Roman numerals. Now, Roman numerals is something we are all very familiar with. It's something I've been doing since primary school. So we are not going to waste much time on it. We are just going to do one example and move on. Yes. So it says what? MMCDIX represents what number? MMCDIX represents what number? So it says you should transfer this from Roman numerals to what? To our normal numerals, which is Arabic numeral. Okay. So MM is what? It stands for 2000. CD stands for 400, and IX stands for 9. So when you add it all up together is what? 2409. That is the answer. 2409. Good. We move on to multiples and factors. Multiples and factors. The first example here is what is on factors. It says, what is the highest common factor of the numbers 30 and 132? We will start this by writing down the factors of both 30 and 32. And then we are going to write the common factors of 30 and 32. So among the factors of 30, we have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. These are the factors of 30. Among the factors of 32, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11, 12, 22, 33, 44, 66, and 32. And 132, sorry. 132. So, from here we are going to get out the what? The common factors. The common factors of both 30 and 132 is what? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, and 6, sorry. 1, 2, 3, and 6. So when we do this, we are going to what? We are going to get the highest of the common factor, which is what? Which is 6. The highest of the common factor is 6. So the highest common factor of both 30 and 132 is what? Is 6. Good. The next example is what? It says 54 over 36 in its lowest term. 54 over 36 in its lowest term. Yes, this is factorization. It's telling you that you should reduce the fraction to its lowest term by what? By dividing both the numerator and the denominator by their common factors. By their common factors. So you have to find the common factor. What is common that can divide both the numerator and the denominator? We will start by dividing them by what? By 2. So when you divide 54 by 2, you will get what? You will get 27. And when you divide 36 by 2, you will get 18. So 27 over 18. But 2 can no longer go into 27. So you divide it by what? By the next common factor, which is 3. Which is what? Which is 3. So 27 divided by 3 is equal to 9. And 18 divided by 3 is equal to 6. 3 can still go. 3 can still go. You divide 9 by 3, it will give you 3. And you divide what? You divide 6 by 3, it will give you 2. Nothing can go again. Nothing can go again. This is a fraction in its lowest term. It is what? It is a fraction in its lowest term. You have succeeded in dividing the fraction 54 over 36 by their common factors, such that you can no longer divide them again, and your answer is now what? 3 over 2. Good. We are going to move on to the next slide. Now this slide deals with examples of problems involving what? Multiples. Involving multiples. The first example says, what are the first 4 multiples of 8? We will start by writing down the multiples of 8. We will start by writing down the multiples of 8. What are the multiples of 8? The multiples of 8 are the numbers that you can multiply 8 by other numbers to get them. Okay? The multiples of 8 are what? 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and so on. But for the sake of this question asks for just the first 4 multiples of 8. So we are going to stop here because we have gotten the first 4 multiples of 8. And the answer is what? 8, 16, 24, and 32. 8, 16, 24, and what? 32. Good. Now we'll move on to the next example, which says find the LCM of 3, 8, and 12. Find the LCM, the lowest common multiple of what? 3, 8, and 12. Now, to get the LCM of a number, we have to express the number as what? As a product of their factors. As a product of their lowest what? Factors. Good. Now, of their lowest common factors, sorry. Of their lowest common factors. So, the common factors between 8, 12, and 3 are what? 1, 3, and 2. Okay? 1, 3, and 2. Now, 12 as a product of its common factors with 8 is what? 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 1. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 1. Okay? And 8 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 1. And 3 is what? 3 times 1. Just 3 times 1. Now, as you all can see, among all of them, the one that has everything is what? Is 12. So therefore, the LCM between 8, 3, and 12 is what? Is 12. Is 12. Yes. Good. So we are going to move on to number base operations in what? In number base. Now, this is a very simple example and we are going to deal with just one question. Okay, it says add the following: 1011 in base 2 plus 1111 base 2 and 101111 in base 2. Okay, now we are going to add them, but we are going to take them step by step. So what? We'll add the first two numbers and then we'll add our answer of the first two numbers to the what? To the last number. Good. Now I believe we all know how to do these things, so I'm just going to rush through it. Now 1 plus 1 in base 2 is what? Is equal to 10. 1 plus 1 in base 2 is equal to 10. So you write down this 0 and what? And carry the next one. You write down this 0 and carry the 1. 1 plus 1 in base 2 is still 10. You add that other 1 to the 0 is what? Is 1. You write down this 1. Okay? You write down the 1. Then you move on to the next one. 1 plus, you move right down the 1 and carry the other 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. Plus that 1 you carried is what? Is 10. So you write the 0 and carry 1. 1 plus 1 is 10. Plus that's what? Plus that 1 that you carried is what? 1 1. Okay? So you write down what? The 1 1 0 1 0 in base 2. Good. Now we are going to add this our answer to what? To the third number. To the third number. When you do it using the same way I've explained just now, you are going to get what? You are going to get this answer. Good. You are going to get the answer 101001 in base 2. That is our answer. Okay. Now, this is a what? This is a run through, as I said at the beginning, of the topics you are going to find questions from in the quiz. Remember that these are not all the questions you will be seeing in the quiz. There are still more questions, very much more questions. So you will have to still read further and what? And make yourself very, very, very conversant with these things we have solved here. And you are going to still go on and find other questions that are similar to this and what? And solve them so that you can prepare yourself very well. Okay? Thank you and God bless you.